Well, I remember, and I remember, don't worry, worry.
Worry, worry.
How could I ever forget
Was the first time, the
the
last
last time
time
we
we ever
ever.
met.
I don't know.
Well, I know the reason why you keep your silence up.
Son.
You and me.
Shit goes so hard.
That shit slaps. I need to add that to the Texas Tea playlist. Every song that slaps, I've just been trying to add it. So I'm like, I'm gonna emulate this one too.
You saw Zola, right?
Yeah. Oh,
You
Zola
did you,
goes hard.
was it you that told me about Zola? You might have.
No, you and Simmons told me about Zola.
Oh, okay. Well, you know the pimp in
Yeah,
Zola?
yeah.
He's in the
Get your ass back in this fucking car.
fucking this fucking car. You will listen to me, bitch.
It's
He
like the
is
the Ugandan comes out of him all of a sudden.
yeah, he talks normally and then when he gets mad, he's like, "Why are you gay?" He's uh he's in Fear the Walking Dead.
Oh no, he's the best.
Yeah.
What else
He
was
play
he?
he's in a bunch of stuff actually. When I looked him up, did you know that he's half Guatemalan? He's like half black. He's like af
Oh,
Afro af
that's what it is. Guatemalan, not Ugandan. Get
Afro
your
yeah.
ass back. It is a unique accent.
Just running across the border. Get your ass over the border right now. Hurry. The
Right
border
now,
patrol
my
coming.
brother, they're coming. They're coming, my brother.
Classic Nabuba Chambalo Nabuguze from Guatemala.
What a name.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not called it's actually not Guatemala, it's Amala. A lot of people don't know that.
Paula.
Hmm. That's the anglicized version is Guatemala.
Mm, we always
I,
gotta
lo- I
be.
love the country of Uganda. That might be one of my favorite. I'm never gonna go.
I'm gonna
Never in my
move
life am
there.
I gonna go. No, I'm not going. But I love
Got
them. I
got
do love
my
Uganda.
my visa.
Wait, what is it? Who are the chat had this going for a while? There's the memes between Uganda and what was the other?
Uh,
Was it? It's not Nigeria, is it?
no, it's Kenya.
Kenya, right, right. Yeah. And they still kind of make sense, even though they're very specific about Ugandan and Kenyan politics.
So specific. It'd be like Kenyan teachers be like, and then it's some dude holding an onion. It's like, what does this mean?
Hmm.
What?
It's not just that he was rubbing an onion under his armpit. Do you know I
Oh,
figured
yeah,
out
yeah,
what that
yeah.
is? I figured out what that was. Um, so the meme is a guy being like, you're about to get your ass beat in Ugandan school or whatever, and it's a person rubbing an onion under their arm. Apparently, that's supposed to give you a fever. So it's a way for you to pretend to be sick. I don't know if that's true. If a tater wants to try that shit out, let me know if it works.
Yeah,
If
let
rubbing an
us
onion
know.
in your armpit gives you a fever. And while you're at it, I also heard that if you take three fingers and put them in
Uh-huh.
your butthole
Oh.
and then pop them out and put them
Mhm.
down your throat,
Hmm.
I heard that's how you can get $1 million.
I heard that's the cure to cancer.
That's the cure to cancer. Yeah, there you go. It neutralizes the free radicals. We have to get Cy on this. He'd be able to explain it better, but it's something like that. You put your finger in your butt and then you put it down your throat, and it makes you rich and cancer free. So it's what I've heard. It's what I've
That
seen. I don't know.
that's what they teach up at the X-Men school where they bend the spoons.
That's what X-Men 97 is. It's how many fingers they can put.
I kind of I turned that on briefly because like Rowan's into superheroes. So I was like, and he's watched X-Men, one of them, like Evolution, the 2000s, the early 2000s one.
Was that a movie or a cartoon?
It's a cartoon. It was on
Okay,
WB.
got you.
Uh, back in the time of like Static Shock. And did you ever watch Static Shock?
I think wasn't that a comic book also, or was it just a
Yeah,
show?
yeah.
Okay. I remember seeing the comic book, but I don't think I ever watched the show.
It's like this black high school kid, and he
Mm.
rides around on like a. I always thought it was a trash can lid, but
Hmm.
some kind of saucer, and
Oh, that's pretty cool.
he's electric.
Oh, that there we go. Static Shock. Like
Hmm.
that. Like that. Well, man, I got another week of teaching to do, and boy, I haven't showed up for the past 2 days. I've just been taking days off. I don't really want to go. My heart isn't in it. But TikTok, in its infinite wisdom, seems to know that I'm tired of being a teacher at a school, at a high school. And so I just see a bunch of TikToks of like where people go, this, I'm a first year teacher and this is why I quit. And I was like, man, y'all look fucking stupid. Y'all look like babies a little bit. Teaching is not a it's not a bad. I mean, it's hard. It is definitely hard. I mean, I see where they're coming from. It's first to a lot of people who listen to this show, I know how y'all feel about teachers and man, y'all need to leave teachers alone for real. A lot of them are doing the
Teachers.
best they can.
Well, who listens to this show and hates on teachers?
Man, I've seen some stuff, bro. I've seen some stuff where the idea is if you watch a lot of libs of TikTok type bullshit, you think teachers are all like 27 gender people who want to teach your kids how to use dildos, you know?
Oh, well, that's just kill those teachers, but like leave
Yeah.
the other ones alone.
Yeah. I mean, teachers that I worked with are incredibly smart, incredibly hardworking, competent people. And this year I learned so many important things about how to keep track of a lot of shit all at the same time, how to speak to large groups of people over and over and over again, which was a skill that I didn't have. I genuinely think being a teacher helped with my public speaking. But I mean, there's shitty ones too, don't get me wrong. But those are just the coaches. The coaches who just are there to teach, softball and basketball and shit. They have to teach and they don't do anything and nobody cares because they're sports guys. But
Yeah, I
the
had one of those for history. I had one of
Mhm.
those for shop, which was kind of odd. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
the coach and I guess it does kind of make sense. But he like also had that attitude. He's like, I'm a coach. I don't
Mhm.
give a shit. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna run this saw.
Yeah.
So you cannot give a shit while I cut my finger off.
I'm gonna go into the back of the class and practice a little X-Men 97, if you know what I mean. They say, what do you talk? What is X-Men 97? You'll understand in
Like this
2024.
is 2004. What do you mean X-Men 97? What does that even mean?
Just start calling things like, oh yeah, I'm about to watch Yellow Jackets 24. Like, all right, cool.
I've been
Um,
watching The Sopranos 03 at this point,
oh
I think.
03, yeah,
I'm almost
yeah.
done with it.
What did it started in
It's
99,
99,
2000?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right. What a great show. Oh, but to close out that teacher thought. So the thing is that a lot of the complaints that the teachers have on the video is true. It's the parents, bro. Y'all don't take care of your kids and now they're all fucked up.
Mhm.
My students were born the same year the iPhone came out, and I know a lot of these drunk ass, high ass parents, or even just kind of regular ones who are lazy, gave them iPads right out the gate. Those kids have been raised on screens. And I'm telling you, dude, every time I say this, people say, well, every old generation feels this way about the younger one. No, these kids are fucked.
Yeah.
I was a bad student. Don't get me wrong. I was a terrible student.
We were at least like interacting with each other. Like we were drawing
Yeah.
pussies
Yeah.
and showing
Yep.
each other like
Oh yeah.
look,
Oh yeah.
like you it's basically like a U and then a line in the middle of it. You're like,
Hmm.
bro, it was like
That's your
this.
mom.
It's like holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
no. And then they go, wait, wait, wait. And then they draw like little hairs on it. And they're like, okay, like
Yeah.
this is your mom.
Exactly.
And you
So
draw
I
a
mean,
big circle and you're like, this is your dad. This is your dad's pussy.
oh, and I'm gonna step back because I, our generation wasn't as bad as this generation, but I'm not letting us off the hook either. We were on the downward slope for sure at that
Our
point, right?
generation is who gave birth to this generation. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
got like
Mm-hmm.
parents that are 13 years older than them that are just like, hey, go stay with your grandma and take your iPad with you.
That's it. That's
Um,
it. That is the biggest parenting lesson that I've learned from a year as a teacher is that a lot of parents want to continue living their lives. I understand that impulse, but you are weak if you give into that. Straight
and
up, you're
you
fucking your kids up.
you can. It's kind of really simple. Like you and I both have a lot of shit going on
Yeah.
individually and like and with the show and with Broken River. Like we have a lot of shit going on.
Yeah.
And we have kids and we're full-time attentive to them. Stop being in gay little group chats with people. Like
Bro.
stop having friends. That's what you have kids, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck your
Mm-hmm.
friends. You have kids.
Yes. Stop having friends. Stop going out to the bar. Stop having date night. Rios and I have a date night once every month, about once a month. Because even though we live by relatives, I don't think it's right to constantly pawn my kids off on somebody else. A lot of people don't give a shit though. They'll drop their kids off at mom's 2, 3, 4 days a week,
As
sometimes
if
for
they're
weeks at a
entitled
time.
to it. Oh, I hear about
Yeah,
it all the time. Most of these,
yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. But I see what happens to those kids, right? And I would say that the number of kids who were interested in on any given day, depending on what I'm talking about, there were maybe in each class, maybe two or three who would just pay attention no matter what, because they were there to get through school and get good grades because they have plans to take them forward in life.
Speaking of,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
do you want more?
Anybody who thinks we don't take care of our kids has never listened to an episode of this show
Or watch the
where
video portion?
Mhm.
Or yeah,
uh
yeah, no, plenty. Yeah, you just gotta listen. Oh
I
man,
lost my train of thought.
Stranglehold. Stranglehold is still my favorite. Our revenge episode. You got to listen to Itchy the Killer, the manga versus movie episode.
Oh, right. Where I'm just watching playthroughs of
You're
Stranglehold.
watching playthroughs of Stranglehold with it turned all the way up, all the way through the episode, just because somebody had some shit to say about our kids making noise.
Yeah. Yeah. That was very funny. But anyway, so that I don't go down the same TikTok route, I won't go through all the list of grievances, but basically, y'all fucked your kids up big time. And I seriously do wonder because these guys are going to be in the workforce over the next few years.
I'm gonna
Uh,
fire them.
Kelby's going to fire them.
Yep.
I mean, it's bad. It's real bad. This is an entire generation of fucking idiots who are so addicted to their phones. People are going to start losing their shit because I know what's going to happen. We're going to start to see videos of people who go to Wendy's or some shit and they're trying to order their food and somebody's on their phone not paying attention. And that customer is going to fucking lose it. They're going to lose it. And rightly so because
Hmm.
you're at work. Put your phone away. I've already started noticing younger people on their phones when I'm out shopping. And I'm like, dude, this is bad. This is not how it's gonna be. I'm gonna be a fucking old man about it too. Be like, oh, I'm sorry. Am I interrupting you? Is
You
this is
got
this
to.
okay?
Somebody's
Yeah.
got to be.
Hmm.
Nah, but yeah, we ain't doing that shit. Rowan gets on his pad and play shit like in the truck, and already we're kind of like sometimes we're like, I don't think you're taking that today. You been having trouble listening to me when I say something, so
Yeah.
you
We
ain't
even
looking at this
noticed
shit.
that. I mean, Gus doesn't have one, but he depending on the show that he's watching, he turns into an asshole. I mean, he loves Spidey, but we kind of don't play it anymore because when Spidey comes on, he just try to turn that shit off, bro. Like it's bad. I mean, it's always bad when the TV goes off, right? That's like a kid thing, but Spidey, it's something different. And I saw this one TikTok account where this guy goes through and rates children's shows based on how bad they are for kids. And of course, Coco Melon's bad and
Oh yeah.
like of course, right? But
That's like got
and
satanic powers to it or something.
it does, but the point that he brought up, which was really interesting, is two things. Number one, actually, that style of 3D animation
Hmm.
is priming them for the mobile games and that type of shit, right?
Oh
So,
yeah.
and the second thing is that a lot of these shows, like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen Paw Patrol, Spidey's the same way, right?
Hmm.
Every episode is about a crisis that has to be solved. And what he said, I don't know if this is true or not, but it sounds right, is that when you watch a show like Paw Patrol and you're a little kid, your cortisol levels are constantly spiking. It's basically causing anxiety in the kid. And they're watching the show to see, Rubble save the day or Spidey save the day. And it's like, of course, it's little problems. It's like, the Green Goblin took all the caps off the fire hydrants and now
Right.
we have to cap them off. But still, I mean, I started noticing this in Gus where, the way he was playing was there's a fire somewhere. We have to go fix it. And I was thinking, why don't we go outside and look at bugs instead?
Yeah,
Right?
and just enjoy the sun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. We saw a snake today. We saw a racer. I don't know what kind of racer it was, but we saw a little racer out in the park today. And
what
Gus was
is
like,
what is a racer?
it's like a black snake with a green belly. There's like eastern racers and southern racers. They're basically garden snake like, but you know how
Uh,
garden snakes are like really little and kind of
there's
gray.
there's mud racers. There's
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Formula One.
was it a Tokyo Drifter?
It was a Tokyo drifting
Did it
snake.
have the
Yeah,
squinty eyes and it had the
yeah.
like dragon decal on the
And
on the
the
side?
conical rice hat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's how you can spot the Tokyo drift snakes.
They have the hat.
Um, but yeah, I think that being a parent is extremely difficult, but I don't have any sympathy for people who don't want to do their jobs because they're hard, and I have no sympathy for people who don't want to be a parent because it's
No,
hard.
you should quit being a teacher because it doesn't pay shit.
Yep.
That's the only reason. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's really
Mm-hmm.
hard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2024. We're in the silent depression. Everything's hard.
Yeah, everything's hard. Everything's hard. But I do think that the low pay, this is another doomer prediction, is just that so many teachers are going to leave because they can't survive on it anymore and they have skills. A lot of them have master's degrees, like I work with somebody who's got a doctorate. She can do a lot of shit that's not teaching, but she loves the game, so she's still in it. But when people like that start leaving, you're literally going to have to start hiring incredibly unqualified people to be teachers. I
Hmm.
mean, let's keep it a stack. I'm not exactly qualified to be a teacher either. They just thought I kind of seemed like a normal guy. So they were like, all right, cool.
Well,
I don't have any teaching certificate, although
old
I did
school
ace the
quali
test.
I mean, yeah, on paper, you're like the most qualified though. That's all you
Hmm.
do.
Hmm. It's a good point.
People don't come to me to learn shit. They uh I'm the there's a cockroach. Um
Hmm. Hmm.
uh I'm the comic relief. You're the wise old sage.
The wise old sage. But you see what I mean? How it's going to be the fact that I didn't need a teaching degree to do this, it's just going to keep getting lower. And pretty soon they're going to be like, do you have felonies? And if
What
so, what kind of felonies are we talking about?
what they're gonna probably do is there's gonna be these contracted like program, you know how they have like coaching programs like to build up your
Yeah.
gym or this
Yep.
and that. They're gonna have like
Yep.
teacher packages, and you're just gonna be like watching a video or something and then following a module,
Yeah.
and that'll be what class is.
Instead of being doomer about it, though, as we're talking, I'm beginning to realize that there's a lot of opportunity in that too, because I'm trying to see the world in a different way. I think a lot of people who listen to podcasts and who make podcasts point out everything that's wrong with what's going on. And that's fine. I mean, that's good. I guess. I mean, some people like that. But I mean, you can also
they're,
look at it.
they're doing Paw Patrol for grown-ups.
Papa,
the,
yeah. Yeah.
the ginger goblins are taking over the school.
Yeah. So true. But I'm trying to start thinking about one level past that, which is how can I profit from this?
Yeah.
Because think about it this way. So, okay, schools are going to be shit. Everybody's going to be addicted to their phone and not be able to perform. So, if I raise my son right, he's going to have an extreme competitive advantage just by being a competent human being. That's
Yeah.
going to put him head and shoulders above fucking 95% of everybody. And also, we need those people too. Like, I was looking at some of these kids and I do not have high hope. Like, I don't care if they succeed. It doesn't matter to me at all. I'm like, a lot of you are going to have shit jobs and shit lives, but we need that. We need that so that other people can make money off of that. Just keeping it,
Yeah.
I'm just being real.
Like
I'm
my
just being
kid.
real. Your kid will be fine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he'll be fine.
Your kids will be fine. Your daughters are already what? Artistic and out here
Smart
killing
as
it.
shit, building
Yeah.
robots and shit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's hard to gauge where the next generation's at too, like where how to predict how shit will go because so many people have kids younger and younger. So like there's no clear, well, these millennials raised by boomers. It's like, no, they were raised by boomers or Gen X, and then the Zoomers were raised by millennials, some Gen X, and then I don't know how far down it goes, but like there's people creeping up into their 30s that are apparently Zoomers. So I'm like, okay, well, Zoomers are having Zoomers, or I guess.
I think that's called Generation Alpha, is what they're calling it, which is very ironic. This is not going to be a generation of alphas at all. At all.
Should have
Oh,
skipped
dude.
that one.
Uh, speaking of Gen X, Generation X lost a king today
Oh,
or
rest in
yesterday.
piss, Steve Albini.
Steve Albini, the biggest pussy who ever lived,
What
is
a
is
bitch.
now is now dead. So anyway, night night, Steve.
I
Rest
wonder
well.
what happened. He
I
was
was,
so young.
he was well, I do have a theory, and I think he shot himself,
Oh yeah, yeah.
but
I
but
think
not with a
he
gun,
yeah, I
with like
think
his tenth booster shot. Yeah, I think that's what did it.
yeah.
Yeah,
It wasn't a Smith and Wesson, it was a
no,
Johnson and Johnson.
it was a Johnson and Johnson. I think he slinked out of his well, they call those man caves, don't they? Generation X, you fucking idiots. What do you call that
Oh,
shit?
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
This is my epic bacon man cave.
There
Generation
were
X is invented Reddit, by the way. So, I mean, I got no love for you people. But
there were people Generation X is so obsessed with self-care that they don't pay attention to their own fucking kids. And so now we're all
Generation X
bipolar and
is
fucked up
actually
and having
probably,
to
bro, they're the dark horse because people go to the boomers, and by people I mean Gen X, because they're trying to make us not look at them. Like boomers took a lot of shit, but they also made their Gen X kids' lives mostly awesome.
My daddy was mean to me. So shut the fuck up. You lived in a
Yeah.
married household in the best economy America's ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking baby.
And then they got to this point where they all decided because they were so disaffected and, they listened to Nirvana and Pearl Jam and shit, and they were just like, "Oh, everything sucks. I hate corporate." And then they all got corporate jobs, made everything worse. Didn't care about their millennial kids. Hi, I'm one of them. That's why I don't have any love for you motherfuckers. But like, but then they decided like that they were going to continue with the attitude, even though they were old and fat and stupid. And so you get these people who are like, you see them on Facebook and Twitter all the time, who are just like, well, these geniuses who don't want to get their 10th booster shot should fucking have a sack of shit and 97 fingers shoved up their asshole.
A lot of fingers and assholes going on here.
There
All
is,
right.
there
You
is,
know,
there is, there is. It's just,
another
but
Gen Xer named Sigmund Freud might have something to say about that.
yeah, famous Gen Xer Sigmund.
He's in
Oh,
his bad religion shirt and his
it's
lab
just
coat.
never sold out. He never sold out. You do want to fuck your mom. Fuck you, piss baby. But so they do all this and then they get really, really scared of COVID because they have no real experience of like millennials for the most part, I mean, have actually been cool about COVID. I'm not gonna lie. Like most people who I've encountered, even people who are on the mask and vaccine side, most of them are cool. If you're just kind of like, yeah, no, it's not for me. Most that I've encountered have responded to that with, oh, okay, that's fine. But the Gen Xers were really, I mean, the boomers were like, I'm gonna die. Like, let me see my grandkids. It was really Gen
Yeah.
X. It was like, oh, but I'm so scared. I'm so scared. And then Steve Albini, being one of those, is now dead of a heart attack.
Wow. How
Isn't that
many
weird?
more of those? Hell, okay, so you're reading Death Note now, right?
I am, and it
He's
slaps. It's
obviously
so good.
he's gotten into killing people, right? I
Oh,
mean
right
that's
off rip,
pretty
off
right
rip.
off rip.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So that whole thing is like he keeps killing these people by just writing down a name,
Hmm.
and they just a lot of them, unless you specify, they just die of a heart attack. Well, that
Yeah,
attracts suspicion.
it's a good point. It's a really good point.
Come on now. Everybody's
Yeah,
like, it's not
yeah.
the okay.
The
Yeah,
CIA gets on his ass in like chapter 7.
yeah.
Like,
They're
like
like, what's with
they're
all these random heart attacks? This
yeah,
is suspicious.
because he's killing people on death row. And immediately, I love the plot twists in this book too. It's such a Death Note is such a master class in how to consistently do twists that work and raise the stakes because L's dad is, or not L, Light.
Hmm.
Light's dad is the head of the Japanese CIA who's looking for him. I was like, God, that's fucking genius. Like, God damn, it's so good. Um, but your point is well taken. People start to notice and they're like, hey, this is really weird that all these heart attacks are happening out
For the
of,
past 4 years,
yeah, it's
there's
really
been a
weird.
lot of random heart attacks.
Who's the motherfucker in the NBA who had got Bell's palsy out of, is it Embiid? Is that how you say it? I'm not a sports guy,
I have no idea.
but
Me either.
anyway, one of these
Our
NBA
our
dudes got
our backwall podcast is about how many fingers you can get get to the back wall.
it's called NBA 2K. And 2K is how many I cannot get into sports for the life of me, man. I really cannot. I think it would be, it seems fun. People who like sports really seem to be having a good time, but I
they
just doesn't
don't
click for me.
they don't hit each other enough.
Mm.
I remember first watching hockey because I'd seen, some movies and shit like Goon or Mighty Ducks even. And I was like, oh hell yeah, hockey. This has to slap. And they're just like sliding around the ice. Like, all right, that's enough of that.
And we're done. Okay. Cool. Cool. But other than that, man, life is going good. I've been playing Rise of the Ronin. It's okay. It's okay.
It
I
looked pretty tight.
It's all right, man. It's okay. I mean, it's basically Ghost of Tsushima with Sekiro. influence
Yeah,
in
the
it.
like parrying system and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
The
Ghost of
pairing fucks me up.
Tsushima has kind of like a more, I don't know how to describe it. One of more of that like kind of locked on combat system where
Yeah.
it's less parrying and distant, and it's more like I don't really know how to put it easy. I don't know.
These games are way too big. They are way too big. There's too much to do. I'm fucking 7 hours into Ronin and I just completed a quest and they say now you have bond jewels and you can fit your bond jewels into different items to get and I'm like, dude, I fucking man, no.
No,
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 no, no, no, no.
no.
Like this is but it's that
See,
over I swear to God, there are like, dude, for real, there are like 20 different RPG like systems in this one game and I do none of them. I
yeah,
run through it
no, that's good.
like
That's
I have a
good.
diaper on in Dark Souls. You know, some people play that way, just like
Yeah,
naked.
yeah.
That's how I'm playing the game because I don't give a fuck about. I mean, I upgrade my weapon and I upgrade my armor. That's it.
See,
That's
I
all I
think
do.
I actually think I was getting tired of the open world shit, but I think it's kind of good to have games that it's just the mentality. When they came up with trophies and achievements and shit, that was a bad move. You
Mm,
should not, gamer scores should not exist. Trophies should not exist. You ain't platinum and shit. Just play the fucking game and like
that's it.
have all these things that are in it. Uh, no, it's cool. Have them in it, but you ain't gotta do that shit. Just do whatever
Yeah.
you want. Like when Simmons and I both been going back to Fallout 4, and he was like, I asked him how far he is, and he was like, bro, I'm like level 50, but I just been like gunning and you know, just gunning and looting. I'm like, damn, level 50. And when I booted it back up, I was like, I'm only level 29. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like
Mm-hmm.
so much farther than him in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because he
Mm-hmm.
literally does just run around just shooting people and shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I mean, do as many side quests as you want, but there in Rise of the Ronin, you can find cats and the cats open new items. I don't care. I don't
No,
care. I
no.
don't care.
In Red
The
Dead,
people
you can like go and pick feathers and then make hats. Like that is the most retarded thing I've ever heard
It
of.
is.
I'm not
It
doing
is.
that.
Dude, I've been watching this TikTok guy erase. This is what I use social media for now. It's apparently teacher videos, spooky conspiracies, and watching people with badass PCs play video games really well. And there's this guy erase who does Red Dead shootouts basically, but he doesn't. It looks so cinematic and tight, and he gets all these headshots and shit. It's really fun to watch. It's almost as fun as the game. But Rise of the Ronin got a lot of flack for having bad graphics, and they are pretty bad, but I don't really care.
What's
That
bad,
doesn't.
man? Like
They
Dark
they're
Souls bad or
no, it's well, actually, they are probably about on par with the original Dark Souls, but um, the frame rate definitely
uh
dips at points. Like if you're on your horse and you're riding through and like you got three or four enemies attacking you, the frame rate really dips, which shouldn't happen on a PS5.
actually
But
Fallout 4 does that a lot.
oh, yeah. But I mean, we see where Cyberpunk is now, 3 years later, and I think that games are just going to get Life of Pablo from now on. I mean, they're going to be released essentially in beta form, and if you buy them early and you pay $70, well, like I did for Rise of the Ronin, I mean, that's on you. I wanted to play it, so I don't know. I don't get. I saw these people who are like, I'm so pissed that I spent $70 on, and I'm like, then why didn't you wait?
Yeah.
You could have
Like
seen.
all these
Uh,
games take forever to finish. Play something
mhm,
else until it's $20.
mhm. And I was just ready to go. I was ready to play it.
Did it go away? No. Oh, okay. I need to go squash a bug real quick.
All right, sounds good. The bugs have been crazy lately. But yeah, so while he's taking care of the bug situation, Rise of the Ronin has a really good combat system. It is fun to play when you're just doing ninja shit, but I got a real problem with how, I mean, a game should be like 8 hours. That's it. And you should put every dollar of your budget into making those 8 hours as clutch as possible. I don't give a fuck if you make a game that takes fucking 200 hours to platinum. I'm never going to play it for 200 hours anyway. So to me, it just seems that these things are getting more and more and more bloated to the point that they are no longer fun. That and the parrying system on this particular game, the parry button is triangle instead of L1. And I think that's fucking up my experience as well because and a kid, by the way, told me that I can go into my PlayStation and switch so that L1 and triangle are reversed, like for everything that you would do. And I might actually do that because I have muscle memory from Sekiro in
Yep.
my left finger, and I'm beast at Sekiro. But I can't parry for shit in Rise of the Ronin because it takes my brain that extra half second to be like, oh right, it's triangle. And by then
Yeah.
I'm toast at that point. So
I wish these people like forever, ever since like PS2, I've been like, why can't y'all copy each other, play each other's games, use the same fucking control setup for every game? This
they're
is dumb.
already copying Ghost of Tsushima, and they give your character a grappling hook like in Sekiro that you can go around. I mean, let's not pretend like you don't know what you're doing. I think it's tight. We've said so many times on Agitator, steal,
Yeah.
fucking steal. Like take cool shit and remix it and get me another cool game and I'll play it. But like, oh, we're gonna make the parry button a triangle. Why? Now I gotta learn this whole fucking different system to play the game. But I was rambling while you were gone, but long story short, games need to be shorter and they need to pour that huge budget into making the most badass 8 hour game that they can possibly make.
Yeah, how about this? Like, you know how like if you want to explore and shit, how about have like a so Halo 3, did you ever play that?
I no, I didn't. I
So
wasn't an Xbox guy.
Halo 3 had a forge mode and you could go in and just like make your own map and then you could play the map and then it was just the story and the story was like 12 levels or some shit like that, like, you
Mm,
know, not walking through, just like you do all this mission, cutscene, now you're in a different place,
yeah,
cutscene.
you're on rails.
Yeah. uh like, bro, what if Cyberpunk, because that story was so good, what if
Uh-huh.
Cyberpunk was just a straight up noir that you had to play this level by level, and then it had a map mode,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
map mode was like a separate disc or something, and you just run around and kill people or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the fuck. But
See, and I love that Cyberpunk exists because that's my game. So everything that I said goes out the window when it comes to Cyberpunk because I think it's the coolest shit ever. But yeah, why not? Why not have Cyberpunk's world and then just have here's a great example of a game that does this. Sifu, the karate game.
mm,
It's like 6 levels. It's hard as fuck. There are ways that you can make it harder. You can find hidden shit, whatever, but it's 6 fucking levels and then you're done. It's hard again, it's hard as shit because you can only be hit so many times before you're actually permanently dead, right? So it's got that roguelike element where if you're on
mhm.
level 4 and you're toast, then wait, no, that's not true. You can restart the level. No, it's for each individual level. Like you is if I remember this correctly, because my memory is shit and I played this game like a year ago, you only have a certain amount of hits you can take per level,
Mm.
right? And then if you move on, like, because the way that it works is every time you get your ass knocked out, you get older, right? So you start off as like a 20-year-old, and then if you die, you're like 25, and then you're 30. You can go all the way up to like 75 and be like, the guy from Kill Bill style, like old man. But like if you beat level 4 and you're an old man, you start level 5 as an old man. And you're gonna
Oh
have to beat that
shit.
whole motherfucker with like 2 hits left. Right. So it's challenging. It's so fun.
That's a wild ass mechanic.
hmm hmm I'm gonna go back and play that actually. That game slaps.
There was this
But
game. it was just a straight up fighting game, like Virtua Fighter style, called Tao Fang. It was also an Xbox game.
Mhm.
That shit slapped so hard because it had this like broken bone mechanic.
Mm.
So each round, like you can break bones, and if you get your bones broken, next round, your bones are broken. So you got like one arm to swing at this motherfucker or whatever.
That's pretty
You're
cool.
limping and shit.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty. Did you ever play Bushido Blade way back in the day? Was it like a PS1 game?
I know the name. I
That was a fighting game that was really interesting because it was like the gimmick of it was that it was realistic combat. And so you didn't have health bars, but like you would just be waiting. It'd be like two samurai just like waiting, waiting. And then you'd strike. And if you got them, like got them good, it could be a one hit kill
oh
and they'd
shit.
be dead. It was tight. It was a cool game. But yeah, no, I think Sifu is a great example. I think Resident Evil 2 Remake was a great example. Still haven't played part four. The Resident Evil games in general, perfect
Hmm.
length of time.
Yeah.
Survival horror gets this. Nobody's making an open world survival horror game.
Oh
You're
God,
playing that
no.
shit for like 10 hours max, and then you're done.
Yeah, because you got to
I
survive.
you got like there are levels that you have to get through to progress the story that takes you to the end. Not like the world is open. Who do you want to join? Do you want to join the shogunate or the anti-shogunate? I don't know. Why don't you make that choice
It's
for me?
it's so funny when you're playing something like Fallout 4 and then you go and meet somebody and they're like, please help me, kind sir. It's like, kind sir, you should have seen what I just did in this open world bitch back here. Like, I've been just hacking up random civilians.
Goonin.
Found a kid in a fridge and just like blew his brains out after selling him into slavery. Like, but
Yep.
sure, I'll help you with your crops. Why not?
Of course. I got you. Yeah,
I'll be a good
absolutely.
guy right now.
No, no problem. Well, I'm gonna go use the restroom. Did you want to riff? Did
Yeah,
you
I'll
want to do
riff.
a you want to do a make a story up?
Yeah, this is Welcome to Agitated, a freestyle storytelling podcast starring two mystic juggalo weebs. We,
Oh, the late intro. We got real A24 with it. We put the title at the end.
who
Hold on, I'll
first
be right
started
back.
that? I'm a riff on who first started the late title card. Let's see, what was the late title card? First one I can remember something like that happening was in, I don't know. Feel like it was something where somebody killed somebody and then a whole lot of shit happened. And then they like 30 minutes into the movie, it goes The Shining or whatever. Uh yeah, sword and sorcery is something I'm seeing a lot of for some reason. That's not something I'd have predicted would just like pop up. And shouts out Evan Shelton, one of the taters, Costain, author, uh lurking transmission. He he's writing some kind of sword and sorcery shit. But I've been seeing that shit around. And it's interesting to me because I can't think of any IP that it stems from. You can see like, when some kind of like if beat 'em ups are all the rage, it's like, well, yeah, I mean John Wick has been really popular for the past few years, so I can see that. Uh Sword
Beat
and
'em up
sorcery,
97.
beat 'em up 97. Uh beat 'em up to the back wall,
Hey.
beat 'em up 2K. How uh Yeah, I don't know where the fuck sword and sorcery came from. So it's kind of refreshing seeing a lot
The
of that shit.
popularity of sword and sorcery makes total sense, dude. It's that Boris Vallejo, big muscly dude, big boob chick, um, you know, killing dragons and having magic powers and shit. I mean,
Dark
it's
Souls, I
cool.
guess. Everybody got into Elden
Yeah.
Ring. Everybody got
Elden
into
Ring was
Elden
big.
Ring. So
Elden Ring was
yeah.
huge, man. Yeah.
But I thought it'd be fun with you getting into Fear the Walking Dead now and we seeing all this sword and sorcery shit to riff on a sword and sorcery with zombies story.
By the way, shout out my buddy Ari Loeb, one of my editing clients from back in the day. He's a stunt man. He was he was in Fear the Walking Dead for 4 seasons doing stunts and playing the zombies and shit. So that's like that's an actual Hollywood connection that I think is cool. Very niche. I don't know if anybody else does, but I certainly do. Um,
I love when there's when you have those kind of connections just because it's cool. It's like I know somebody. It's like,
he
oh, how does that benefit your career? Not at all. But
he sent me a pic of him reading one of my books on a set, and he's in one of those black skin tight leotards with like a bunch of white balls all
oh
over it,
yeah, yeah.
like the motion capture thing. I was like, that's pretty tight. That's pretty tight. That's like the author version of getting a like a dick pic or something like that. You know, it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
That's my
yeah,
book. That's my book
that
in an
thing
interesting location.
that thing that people love to get. It's like the author version of getting a dick pic. You know how when somebody just randomly sends you their penis and you're like, "Oh, hey, cool. This is
Cool.
great. This is what I
I
wanted to
mean,
see."
yeah, right. I'm confused. I don't know what I said wrong there, but yeah, man. So sword and sorcery and zombies. So are we going full fictional world or realistic Game of Thrones medieval style scenario?
Realistic Game of Thrones that had ice zombies and dragons. That
So the ice zombies of Game of Thrones, it's interesting because that was my first thought when you said sword and sorcery and zombies, but Game of Thrones didn't really follow the zombie structure with that. They got that one big battle that was tight where the zombies all attack the I don't know. I don't fucking know this shit. The Snowtown, whatever it was called. But the zombie narrative as popularized by, Dawn of the Dead, The Walking Dead, shit like that. It follows a very specific structure and it's one of uh infection,
hmm
suspicion, and then carnage, basically. Those are the three modes of the zombie story. So like people get infected at first, then everybody starts to act weird, and then all hell breaks loose. Game of
So
Thrones didn't do that. It was just like they were just cool looking rotting corpses that Jon Snow was hacking up. You see what I'm saying?
hmm the other big yeah, sword and sorcery is great for this because people were already so nasty to each other and class divide was so brutal in like when you had the king, you had the peasants, and then like the royal guard and all that shit. Uh throw in a plague that starts wiping everybody out and then changing them. And then now you've got so we lone wolf and cub it, right? Our main protagonist is and this is gonna span seasons. So like a big long sprawling book series or Walking Dead epic saga. So our first protagonist picks up our future protagonist as a baby, abandoned gut style, just like born out of his zombie mother, who's all fucking egghead cracked open on the side of the road, and but this guy, big beefy Conan hero, starting off, he was like the baddest, pimpest dragon slayer in the land.
Mm.
And now nobody gives a shit because there's nobody to really give a shit. And everybody's worried about the zombies. And
Whoa. Right off rip, the badass dragon slayer could be going to a dragon's lair when the plague hits. This is the
mhm.
first scene, right? And then you just like as he's doing battle with the dragon, you see this like World War Z wall of zombies like come up over a ridge, or if it's in the dragon's cave, say there's a hole in the
Yeah.
ceiling, right? And they start pouring in, and you just see like thousands of zombies land on this dragon, and zombies eat a dragon.
Eat the dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Holy shit. That's that's fucking perfect too, because then that answers the question, the dilemma that I raised in my own head whenever I said dragons. It's like, okay, well, what's the bigger threat here? Well, we show it right there. The zombies
yeah,
are fucking dragon eaters. So,
yeah. Well, okay, so this goes into zombie lore, and what makes zombies so dangerous is that they are mindless and they are relentless, but they have huge numbers. So what gets people in a zombie apocalypse is um you can literally never let your guard down because
mhm.
they're always coming nonstop, just coming, coming, coming. And so with like if it was a dragon on one end and 100,000 zombies on the other, the dragon could potentially win, but some of those zombies, like it's just you've seen those games, right? Where it's like, this mobile shooter will make your dick big or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's so many of them come at once that like you're gonna get flanked eventually. And they're not gonna think about it. They're just gonna start like chewing and tearing. And it's like human beings versus uh like if you saw billions of ants coming at you, right? You'd be like, okay, well, I could probably kill 1 million ants, no problem. But eventually some ants are going to start to get up my leg. I'm going to be like, ah, God, ooh, 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 ooh. And
Hmm.
while I'm doing that, like while I'm rubbing them off, they're already coming up my back. And pretty soon, it's just like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Like they've completely engulfed you, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what makes zombies scary. Also, whenever I'm working on a zombie book right now, and I think that this invention that The Walking Dead did, the comic book originally, was so genius that any zombie story that doesn't do this now is kind of stupid. But the idea in The Walking Dead, like the big twist in season 2 that they find out, is that everybody is infected. Dying is what triggers it, right? So you don't have to get bit to become a zombie. You could have a heart attack and die, and you're getting back up.
Yeah, that's genius.
So and so basically what that does is that if you have the king in this castle, that castle's not fucking safe because somebody's gonna die.
Oh,
And
so there's got to be a scene. This is like season one finale, book one climax, where they've got to get to the king somehow. Right. Well, that's how the pimp Dragon Slayer is gonna get his recognition again, is if he goes up to the king and is like, I'll protect you from this shit. You need to hire me or whatever.
right.
uh like he could have been cast aside for whatever reason before, or he was like a just a mercenary, and now he's like, oh, this is my end, y'all need
Mm-hmm.
me, I'm
Mm-hmm.
finna be rich as hell. And he gets up to the king, and the king's old ass is just like having a heart attack, seeing all these zombies crawl up the towers and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And and then he's got to behead him.
Yep. Gotta behead the king. And then okay, so I like that. So now he's the Kingslayer, like Jamie, right? In Game of Thrones. And now he's wandering and he comes upon this baby. I like that the kind of fashion that you could do for stuff like this because you can have plague masks and like
Mm.
crazy Franciscan monks that create entire religions about what's happening right then because they don't have any science, right? They just have magic. So they've in this world, that reminds me, in this world, zombie plague could start because of necromancy. Like too much necromancy is going on.
Ooh.
And somebody just did it way too well. They did a spell, and now everybody is going to rise from the dead when they die
Everyone's infected with death.
with
That
death.
like
Yeah.
that's the plague.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody on the planet is now cursed to not officially die when you die. And we could get like, I mean, since we have magicians and shit, it could be like it's like a living hell because you're kind of still there, right? But because we even in The Walking Dead, we don't know what the experience of being a zombie is like. In Fear the Walking Dead, they're starting to ask that question, like, what are they? Are they there at all? We don't know. But in this one, we could know. Like, you don't want to
Yeah,
become a fucking zombie.
yeah, we could know. There could even be some magic to kind of bring some back, like some potion shit, introduce some D&D type magic to it,
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
not in a kind of like the hokey quirky way where it's like, oh, I'm a zombie but I'm all here. It's like where they're in just complete hell and like schizophrenic as shit, but
Mm-hmm.
are just teetering on the edge, so you got to kind of like keep them on a chain,
Mm-hmm.
but you keep them around as like guard dog slash lab rat.
I like that. I also like the idea of, okay, so this is sword and sorcery, but what if it was also like a Viking society type thing, like with boats? And what if, because they have to stay on the move now, you can't stay in any one particular place, each book is them going to a different part of the primitive world and encountering the zombies there. Like, what if, you know how Conan the Barbarian was like, what's the greatest pleasure in life? He's like, to see your enemies killed in front of you and hear the lamentations of their women. Like, Conan was all about like fucking and drinking and
Mhm.
killing.
Conan
What
was
if,
just like, I'm a fuck your bitch. That's
basically, what if this guy was like Conan, but like a Viking? And he sees this and he's like, oh, let's just roll around the world and take all the shit that we can find. And so it's these constant quests to just like pillage.
and
And
he
so he
has to
goes,
keep going, like he's dying for those accolades, but the issue every time is like, well, like with the dragon, he's like,
mm-hmm,
"Ah, I'm finna slay this dragon." Well, then the
mm-hmm,
zombies come and eat the dragon, and he's like, oh, what the fuck are these things? And so he doesn't even get to slay the dragon, and now he's got a new monster to deal with. And then when he kills the king, that shouldn't be the climax. Like next he's on a quest to the king.
mm-hmm,
And once he gets there and has to kill the king, now he's like, well, now I've killed the king and everyone in the castle is dead.
mm-hmm.
And then he
So what now?
finds, yeah, yeah. And then he finds the baby because,
And
we
and
gotta,
this is a classic story of this guy and this kid traveling the world together in a zombie infested sword and sorcery world where people, I mean, there's still mythical beasts around. There are still you know, different religious factions and stuff like that. But like at some point, the kid who he raised is going to be immune to the plague, like in Last of Us, right? And
mm,
he's going to start to be seen as this kind of messiah. And he's going to look at his dad as kind of this barbarian, for lack of a
mm-hmm.
better term. And now we got dad versus son, right?
Yep.
And so we got
Because Son
like,
just magically gets those accolades and praise and does like the people's
mhm.
desire that he's been fighting his whole life for and never attaining.
And the zombies kind of know that they can't like the zombie or like around him, the zombies just like treat him like one of his. So you can build to this big battle of this aging Conan guy with a bunch of like badass mythical beasts versus the biggest army of zombies you've ever seen. And
That's so tight. I just pictured
Mhm,
I'm reading Exodus again for rare
mhm.
candy. Well, gonna be a rare candy agitator crossover thing. But I picture like Moses and uh man, fucking his stepbrothers, Ramses,
Mm, yep.
Moses and Ramses, where they each got their little, he
Hmm.
freed his people, and then he's got his slaves and shit in his army. Yeah,
Yeah,
th-
that would be tight.
that would be tight.
That'd be
That
tight. And like zombie versions of different mythical creatures would be really cool too. Like a fucking
a
zombie
griffin.
grip griffin. I was about to say a griffin too.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the first thought I had. A zombie griffin would be tight, like just pieces of it falling off, and it's, just this unhinged, fucking brainless killing machine. Zombie fucking cyclopses, and it's like the Odyssey, but if there was everything was a zombie, basically.
That'd be such a hype scene in like the like this as a show or whatever. You'd have somebody panicking, like just got away from a zombie horde and they're up against a stone wall, panting real heavily. And then this big ass feather floats down, takes up the whole frame. And we
Hmm.
follow it down to the ground. And they're like, they don't want to look up. They have that look
Hmm.
like, what the fuck? And then this
Hmm.
like these talons wrap around their
Yeah,
shoulders and
be
just
so
yank
tight.
them up into the air. And you're like, a fucking zombie griffin.
That'd be so sick. People sleep on the zombie shit all the time, but I really do think it's the perfect storytelling format. I really do. You can do anything with it. And it's just a beautiful, constant device for tension. Some people, when they watch The Walking Dead, they say, oh, it gets repetitive because zombies come and then they have to get away from them. Yeah, it's called drama, dude.
Yeah, it present a problem and then
And
it's
then
like
solve the problem.
you complaining about mafia shit. It's like all they do is get betrayed and then go and whack a guy and then they're just trying to make more money and then they whack this other guy. It's like,
Yes,
okay.
correct.
Yeah.
But now they're doing it in Japan or Mexico or whatever. You get to see all these incredible environments completely deserted of people, and you get to watch how different survivors handle the situation that they're in and what they do. What do they do? How do they break down as people? Um, The Walking Dead is by far my favorite show, I think, of all time. That's number one for me. What's your favorite show of all time?
Um, Man, I always have recency bias. So like, but like low key, Sopranos is way up there.
Mhm.
Uh
It'll stay there. It's a good one.
It'll stay in the top three for
Hmm.
sure. It's so
Hmm.
fucking good in every way. It has everything in it. And I was saying the other day, I was like, this is kind of a Japanese show. Like it
Mm.
has the craziest tonal shifts that is not Western. Like that's not an American trait of shit to have the type of tonal shifts that like Sopranos has.
Mm.
It's very like dark, grim
Hmm.
dark,
Hmm.
and then an off-color joke like Beavis and
Right.
Butthead stupid on purpose. Not one of those, well, oh, they made
Hmm.
this part
Hmm.
silly because no, on purpose. It's full of
Hmm.
jokes and it gets dark as shit. You're like, it's genius. It's a great show.
And then a weird dream will happen, and then
Yeah, it gets
somebody will say
all.
something racist or homophobic. It's perfect.
It's
It's perfect.
perfect. It's perfect. So Sopranos is way up there. Atlanta, even though season three was stupid,
Mm.
um, is way up there. Like I still hold, even though that was like fresh and something, it still for me has stood. I'm like, no, Atlanta is like one of the best ever. Um, King of the Hill.
King of
Those are
the
my
Hill.
those are my
Yeah.
top three.
King of the Hill is probably your favorite.
Probably.
That's
It's so good.
yeah, that's probably your favorite show. Um, so
Sitcoms are
into
perfect format. Same with zombies. It's like,
yeah,
oh, what? There's going to be a little thing that they got to get into. All these four characters, they're friends. They're going to be friends at the end of the episode, no matter what happens. Yeah,
yeah,
your point.
and each episode is great. It's
Yeah.
so good. Yeah, the only time The Walking Dead ever slouched for me was season 8 of the OG series, and that was because it was the war between the good guy team and the bad guy team. A lot of scenes of like, people hiding behind barrels and then leaning out to shoot and then going back behind the barrel. It got repetitive. And I
Mm.
don't really doesn't do anything for me. Um, but Fear of the Walking Dead is I'm on almost at the end of season two, and it's really fucking great. And I put it off for a long time because I was like, how is anything going to be as good as The Walking? But like the best episodes of Fear the Walking Dead are like literally top five all time across the entire series. And I'm just on season two, so they killed it.
Hell yeah. They that's something that you got to kind of get a handle on. George Romero knows this because he tries to do something different in every zombie movie he's done. But it's not just about the survival.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get to where so you're not just hiding behind barrels, leaping out and shooting and hiding behind barrels again. You got to get to a point where it's more about the politics. Because when it's just straight
Mm-hmm.
anarchy, it is just people like, oh, I gotta duck over here. Oh, and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
shooting over here. You gotta give them some kind of control of the reins at some point to where then the drama is in the
Yep.
politics of handling this. How do you go about this new world now?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, so what you're saying is 100% correct. And in The Walking Dead, they do this really well because it goes um, initial outbreak and survival. They find a farm for season two where they try to make a life, doesn't work. Season three, they go to a prison, which is such a cool symbolic choice. It's like you have the open pastoral farm, and then they're like, that's fucked up. We got to hunker down. So they go to the prison, right? And then after that, fuck, what happens after that? I forget. But then eventually they
they're
they
in
they
like a
fight.
town, right? After that,
Oh,
they
right,
find
yep.
like a
There's the town where living like non-zombie people are eating people. Um, it's called Terminus. It's pretty good. And then they find Negan at the end of season six, going into seven. They find Negan, and Negan is the guy who made like they went from literally I think 8 million viewers per episode to 1 million after Negan shows up, because his first episode he has all the good guys tied up. He kills one of them with a bat, right? Who's kind of like a secondary character, like bashes the dude's head in. And then Norman Reedus's character tries to hit him for doing that. He's like, "Oh, well, looks like y'all haven't learned your lesson." And he takes Glenn, the Asian guy, and just like starts wailing on his head. And it's graphic as fuck. Like the dude's eyeballs popping out and shit. And people are just like, "I'm done with this show. Fuck this show." And what's funny is that with Fear the Walking Dead, I don't know what happens, but people say like, "Oh, there was at season four, they do something, and I was just done." And I was like, "Oh, that means it's about to get good."
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's when it's about to get real good.
Just just know anybody out there that might be investing in my future career in the arts, I'll make you a lot of money, but bear with me. If I get to that level, 8 million, whatever, I will do the thing that drops to 1 million. 1
Yeah,
million is good, bro. Like that's
it's still
enough.
good.
8
AMC's
million,
kept that
that's
show going,
ridiculous. You know what
bro.
I'm doing at 8 million? I'm not going to 16 million. I'm like, watch me fuck this shit up.
Yeah, no, they fucked it up for real. But it makes it so much better because that Negan character, funny name by the way, over the next four seasons, they capture him, they cut his throat, he lives.
What
He
up,
he goes,
Negan? What'd you say?
excuse me. He goes to jail. He like serves his time, and they do this really brilliant thing where you're talking about the politics. They do a time jump after that to 10 years in the future. So now we're at this point where people have started to rebuild and they're like societies and shit. Or they're like, okay, we've milked this for all we can do. Like we gotta do exactly what you just said, which is like, how do you get into like the rebuilding society, the politics, that kind of shit? And by that point, it's been 10 years. Negan has like saved a bunch of beloved characters. He's kind of changed his ways. And then we get a spin-off after the show's done where he has to go on an adventure to New York with the wife of the man. that he beat to death with a baseball bat in season 7. You can't get that any other way. You
Yeah.
can't do that in a movie. You have to have
No.
years and years and years of a story to get to something that good. Because if you just started that and you were like, oh, it turns out this guy killed this woman's wife. I mean, it's a compelling concept for a movie, but in the context of the show, and you've seen it all happen, so good. So good.
That's why this sword and sorcery zombie joint would be so good too, as a sprawling epic, because this dude, when he first finds the baby, and it's after the king, it's after the dragon, and he's just at a loss. He's like, nobody's around to tell me how awesome I am. He finds this baby, and he's like, you are going to think I'm the coolest motherfucker in the world. So he
Mm-hmm.
cares for this baby so that this baby grows up to be a badass like him and to just adore his father and like depend
Kind
on
of,
his father and think he's a
yeah,
badass.
sort of God of War ish, but with
Yeah.
like a more like uh Conan ego trip kind of character in place of Kratos.
Yeah. And he's not endearing and retarded like that type of barbarian. He's fucked up.
Hmm.
He finds bitches that ain't zombies. And he rapes the shit out of them.
Hmm.
And this
And this
kid,
was our hero in season 1. This
yeah,
is the
this
guy
is
we were
our
following.
season one hero. So this is
Hmm.
enough. This is why the long form just has to work. And you're gonna follow him because he's a badass, and the thing's just gonna be like it's gonna have just the dopest fight scenes. And who else are you gonna cheer for? The zombies? Like,
Hmm.
so you're gonna follow this dude, and then 10 seasons later, when his kid's older, when we do after we do our season 7 time jump,
Hmm.
the kid doesn't fuck with his dad at all. Plus, he's like that messiah, like you said. He's like
Hmm.
naturally immune. He can lead, he can like he's kind of like a zombie whisperer. And
Hmm.
so his dad doesn't understand him because he's a retarded barbarian and he's just like magically gifted.
Hmm.
And so now he fears his son and he's going off more and more on these quests, leaving his son alone. And the one time he doesn't come, he takes too long to come back, mainly because he gets into something a bit over his head. And actually, we actually follow him on this like sort of redemption arc where because we've got to introduce, I guess, in the very beginning, well, we'll plant a seed of just of some kind of empathy where it's like maybe he lost everything, like he had a true pure love or something,
Hmm.
and she was eaten by a dragon or whatever.
Hmm. That's the dragon that he's going to kill at the beginning.
That's the dragon he's going to kill, the one who ate his wife. um he uh he goes on this big quest where he's like there's somebody who he sees his wife in or something, and she ends up helping him in some way because he's just like he's fighting the zombie dragon or whatever, and barely makes it out alive. When he finally returns like 6 years later to his where his son's just like super Jesus among the zombies.
Hmm. Hmm.
And he's like come back to actually be like, I've had my road to Damascus moment and I'm different and things are going to be different now. And the kid's like there with the zombies, like, oh yeah, this is the fool we need to fuck up. We got to get rid
Hmm.
of him.
I like that. I like that.
Popcorn fell on my bed.
Popcorn fell on the bed.
Yeah, I got spilled.
We'll pick it up.
This is what parents are trying to avoid with iPads all the time.
Okay, pick it up. It's bedtime. It is
This
like,
is this is why parents have
Please help
created
me pick it up.
a potential complete disaster for the entire world because they can't do what Kelby just did, which is tell his son, then go pick it up. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, it's pretty
Parents
simple.
parents can't even do that. They can't even do that. God, oh my God, I was on my 1800th post on Facebook today. He was gonna tell me to live, laugh, and love, and you just go watch your iPad and leave me the fuck alone.
I was just telling people how unhappy I am with Joe Biden and that RFK Jr. will do just fine with brains and with worms in his brain.
Brains in his worms.
Brains in his worms.
Oh man, not brains in my worms.
Got brains in
I
my
uh,
worms again.
yeah, RFK's got that worm in his brain. I got a brain in my worm, if you
Oh,
know what I'm saying.
I
Like my
have
dude.
I have no problem running this country with a worm in my
I have
brain.
no problem in this
I'm
country. Everybody, I'm RFK Jr. And just want to say I got worms in my brain, but it's chill, and you should still vote for me, I guess, or something. I don't know. And then as he's saying that, like a worm comes out of his fucking eyeball. I'm the reason he talks weird. It's actually my voice.
It's my voice. It's the worm's voice we've been hearing the whole time. Why
I
does he
love that
sound
though,
like that?
dude.
He got punched in the throat one time or something.
I think he ate Catherine Zeta Jones's pussy too much.
Oh God.
Yeah.
While
But
Michael Douglas was in there.
yeah, he was crying and then Michael Douglas had 97 fingers.
He's like, Catherine, what are you doing? I've got 97 fingers over here.
And then RFK Jr. was like, "Shut up. I'm busy with." Wait, no, he had the voice after. I fucked that one up. Anyway, but like uh no, I love this idea about I love these big epic stories about like where these characters change so completely and how I love it when you get to the end of a story and then you see somebody start that story and they would be on, book one, season one, whatever, however we were doing this. And they're like, yeah, man, dude, this barbarian's fucking shit up. And you can just go, oh, you have no idea what's about to happen. That's what's cool. But I do think it's cool to have long form plans like that. But I also do think it's a mixture, right? That has to happen organically as well. So I think you have to approach every season or book or movie or whatever as its own thing. And then over time, you get to add those pieces on. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
why, like if we were to actually do this,
Hmm.
we'd want to stay abstract about what that turn is.
Hmm.
It's like there's
I
gonna
feel like
be
we should.
something down the road.
What
That
you and I have been talking about writing books together forever. I've got a whole huge slate of shit to write. But after this, why don't we just write a big sword and sorcery epic
oh
together?
yeah. Yeah.
Like like with zombies, with whatever. And why don't we just commit to that like 2025 Ronin Trash, Lowdown 2, uh Black Quartet. That's all out, right? That's all out and in the world. And then after that, I'm just making money
Yeah.
and playing with kids after that. So
I'm
my
actually
kids, not other people's kids. Uh
I'm actually on the trad pub path with some
mhm.
things. Most of these manuscripts are out there. It's collabo time with the boys because I can do whatever I
I
want with
feel
those.
like a Kelby Losack JDO sword and sorcery epic, like big 500-600 page books would slap.
Yeah.
It would be crazy. And we have all the characters talk in AAVE. That would be the
you,
sickest
you
shit.
know they're gonna have to the narrator too, the narrative tone of it.
Just instead of like, what doth thou mean? It's the fuck you talking about? Boop. That's
Said the bar quoth the barbarian.
Cloth the Barbarian. All the narration is in that kind of talk, but then like when people actually talk, it's all AAV. That'd be hilarious. And then when our brave knight doth see the dragon slain by thousands of undead, our hero did say, "Oh hell no, fool! No, I'm not the one. I'm not the one."
I'm not the one.
All right. I think that's it.
That's it. Coming soon. Broken River 2025.
Mm-hmm.
That's so nice.